Hey guys, so in today's video I am going to be sharing with you my top 5 tips in order to get better grades this school year or to just have a better school year in general. I know that school is right around the corner for a lot of you, or maybe has even already started, but either way you are probably starting to think about all of the things that you want to accomplish this year, all of your goals, and here I am here to help you accomplish them. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this video, and make sure to subscribe for more weekly videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Okay, so the first one might seem pretty self-explanatory, but do not procrastinate. I cannot stress this enough. You have to make sure that you are making a schedule and sticking to it. So what I recommend for this is to write out your schedule like before the school year even starts. Like, make like a schedule that's like in your brain. It happens like, so on Mondays I do this every single Monday, and do not fall off of it. And like, say from like 4:30 to 5:30 you're gonna do your homework, and you do your homework from 4:30 to 5:30. So there's a couple of apps that I like to use for this. You can just use regular planner or bullet journal if that works for you, and just write out like the times that you want to do everything. Or if you're more of a digital person, there are so many to-do list apps. I actually have a video, and I'll link it in the description, of top 10 apps for students, and one of my favorite ones from this video for this reason is the app called Timetable. I love this app. You can use it just simply for your school schedule, like when you have which class, or you can kind of do it like as in for your life. And I feel like if stuff is written down, you are way more likely to stick to it. And honestly, not procrastinating is one of the best ways to have a good school year, because otherwise your school year is just going to be full of stress, and it's just going to be honestly a disaster. So my biggest recommendation to you is just not procrastinate. And I know that is way easier said than done, but make sure to do your best to stick to that schedule that you made at the beginning of the year. And you may have to make adjustments to it as things go on in life, and that's okay. But really try to make an effort to stick with your schedule, and that should lead to a way more stress-free school year, and will also improve your grades, so it's kind of a win-win situation. Okay, so my second tip for you guys is to find what works best for you. So everyone studies a little bit differently. I know personally for me to retain the information, I need to take a lot of notes, and really just reading the textbook and highlighting things doesn't work too well for me. I do that in addition to note-taking, but for me personally, note-taking is what gets everything ingrained into my brain, but that might not be for you. So try to kind of experiment a little bit and figure out what works best for you, whether that be note-taking, reading from a textbook and highlighting, trying to do more experimental type projects, talking things out with a group. All of these things can help you to do better, and the best thing that I actually found that works is to take a combination of these things together to form your study routine. So I recommend reading the textbook and taking notes on the textbook, and then highlighting your notes, and then maybe going to a study group that you form with some people from your class and discussing those notes. And for a lot of classes it is super beneficial to do practice problems. Like, I know for math, like literally one of the best and only ways to study is through doing practice problems. So you might have to find which kind of method works best, like on a class-by-class basis, because one method might not work well for another class. So this is just some trial and error that you might have to do, and sometimes it does take a while to figure out, but once you have like your studying routine down, it makes studying so much more efficient, so you're not wasting your whole night studying, but you are still making sure that you are prepared for that test, and your grades will go up, I promise you. My third tip for you guys is to not jump into everything all at once. I know this is definitely a problem that I've had in the past, but you have to take it a little slow. You can't just be like, oh, tonight I'm going to study for 6 tests, I'm going to do my homework assignment, I'm going to like read my full English book. Like, no, you have to take it a little bit at a time. And this is where scheduling and planners come in very handy, because you can kind of plan out like a week or a month or a semester at a glance, so you don't stress yourself out too much. Because while that might work for a couple weeks or maybe even a couple months, You are not going to last the whole year doing that. You are going to burn out, and it's not even going to be worth it. Trust me. So what I recommend is getting a planner of some sort, or maybe like a giant wall calendar or whatever. Like, there's so many options for planning now that you have no excuse. And honestly, pick your planning method that works best for you, and then just write out when stuff is due way in advance. Like, as soon as you find out about a project that's due, write it in. And then you can look at everything that you have to do and kind of make a little mental, or you can even write it out, little schedule of what day you are going to do what things. That is what I often do when I am overwhelmed with a bazillion projects and a bazillion assignments that I have to do, is I just kind of look at it and say, okay, which one is due first? So I'm going to start this one early, and then I'm going to start this one next Tuesday because I have a little more time for that one, and then it's not going to be the night before all these projects are due, and they will all be done well in advance. And this kind of fits in with the not procrastinating one, I guess, but just try not to do everything at once, because that never works, and you will probably find that projects that you started way in advance and worked on like slower, you will get a better grade on than the ones you just tried to do in one night. Even if you spent like the same amount of hours on the one on both, the one that you did the night before, you were hurrying and hurrying and hurrying, and you were really stressed out, and you might have like missed over some key points that you needed to include in your project, and then you lose easy marks. And I just highly recommend making a schedule so that you are not overwhelmed, because that is not a good feeling and it never works out. So my fourth tip, I honestly think, is the most important, and it is to take time for yourself. Whether that be getting enough sleep, which is extremely important, getting a workout in a couple times a week, feeding your body good food. I honestly recommend taking time for yourself, because if you do not take time for yourself, you will honestly burn out, and you will end up just throwing your schoolwork somewhere and then going and sitting and watching TV for the rest of the night, which might have been avoided if you had just taken like a short break. So there are tons and tons of apps that can help you stay focused if you cannot seem to find the motivation to do it yourself. There is like focus keeper apps that kind of gives you a timer, and you have to like work for the minutes that it tells you, but then it gives you a break. So it's great, because sometimes I know if you're like me, sometimes you'll just get in the zone and you'll be working, and you won't even realize how much time has passed by, and then you're like, well, I don't have time to work out now, I don't have time to take a long bath that I wanted to, it's going to be super late before I get to go to sleep now, which is never good, because then again, like I said in the last tip, that is just not a sustainable thing. You will crash and burn, and honestly, if you want to have good grades, I have found that the best way to get good grades is to take good care of yourself first, because there's no way that you can be putting 110% effort into your schoolwork if you're only putting 40% effort into yourself. Like, it doesn't work. You have to find a balance where you put equal amount into yourself as you put into your schoolwork, and then that, I promise you, will help get your grades up. And that is something that I still have to be working on this year, is to be taking more frequent breaks, and to be taking like more time for myself, whether that be to read or whatever. Like, anything that you're just not focusing on your schoolwork for a little bit will be way more beneficial than you think. And I know this probably sounds really weird, like, oh, you'll get better grades by not doing schoolwork. And no, I'm not saying that at all. Like, still focus on your studies and still stick to your little timetable. But make sure to schedule in, like, oh, I'm going to work for 30 minutes and then I'm going to take 5 minutes just to sit on Instagram, sit in my bed, chill out, or whatever. And there's actually been hundreds of studies that have happened, and they have tested this out, and every single time the students who get better grades are the ones that study this way. So if you need a little bit of help figuring that out, I will link a couple apps down below in the description that I have found have been super helpful for me during this process. And yeah. Okay, so my fifth and final tip is to think positively of yourself. I know this sounds like a really stupid tip for like studying, but there's actually been countless studies performed that students who kind of gave themselves positive reinforcement before tests or when they were studying did better than those students who thought, wow, I'm gonna fail this test, I literally suck at this subject, there's not even a point in trying. So by giving yourself tons of positive reinforcement during the learning process, you are actually much likely to get better grades. And there's tons of ways that you can do this. You can have like a little quote board, which is what I have. I love my quote board. I think that it just adds so much positivity and motivation into my kind of workspace. And another way that you can do it is just by constantly telling yourself, like, you don't need someone else to tell it to you. You don't need someone else to tell you, oh, you're so smart. Like, you can tell yourself, like, even set reminders in like your phone in the reminders app to be like, wow, like, I am really awesome, I'm gonna kill this test. And that is the best thing you can do before going into an exam, is to not be so nervous and telling yourself, oh, it's like thinking about the worst possible scenarios, because that just honestly gets you more nervous and more jittery, and then you're not really focusing on the material. Like, I know probably a lot of you have experienced this when you go into a test and you forget every single thing that you have learned. Like, I know I'm not the only one, I know other people experience this too. So by just not focusing so much on like the bad things that are going to happen and more focusing on the good things that are going to happen, I think that you are much more likely to succeed in the subject that you are working on. And yeah, honestly, try it. It will make a difference in your academic performance. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I really hope that some of these tips helped you, and if they did, please make sure to leave a comment down below which ones were the most helpful to you. And I hope that you guys have a good day or night wherever you are. And I'll see you next time. Bye!